Yo, guys, I hope you're well. Guys, we've got a video of a young Keir Starmer, and I think this video will give us a bit of an insight and a bit of an outlook about Keir Starmer and his goals, his ambitions, his drives, his motivations to become where he is today, people. So this video was taken, I think, and it was shot between the years of 1996 and 2004. And I'm not going to say anything else, guys, because I don't want to colour whatever your thoughts are. But I think it will give us a really good insight into just who is Keir Starmer. So I'm not certain if you guys can read what has been said here, but I will read it for you. It says in 1996, Spanner Films followed Keir Starmer as he assisted London Greenpeace activists Helen Steele and David Morris in a libel case against McDonald's. 10 years earlier, Steele and Morris had distributed a pamphlet critical of the company on the streets of central London. And when McDonald's brought libel proceedings against the pair, Steele and Morris were denied legal aid. So the following footage shows part of Starmer's pro bono work on behalf of McLibel 2. So I think Steele and Morris became known as the McLibel 2. Excuse my French, people, my voice is failing me. I'm not sure why. I've just been out in the hot summer sun. It's like the hottest day of the year and I'm absolutely frazzling, people. So please excuse me, my voice is gone. And apparently this was the longest libel case in British history. And for those that may not know, what pro bono means is it means free of charge. And I think it actually means for the public good, which is quite ironic, really. But let's continue.
The issues raised in this trial are complicated and important in two different senses. Firstly, there's the actual details of the case itself, the allegations that are raised and whether they're true or not, or whether they're capable of being proved. But perhaps more fundamentally, freedom of speech. The imbalance in the libel laws between those that have money and those that don't creates a real risk that criticism will be stifled, purely and simply because those without money cannot afford to stand up and try to prove what they say is true. Firstly, it puts some emphasis on the need for McDonald's to... That was bound to happen at some stage, wasn't it? Hello? The inside view on the trial in the legal profession is that this case shows the absurdity of the libel laws. What I could say is I think this case would have cost over £1 million in fees, and an ordinary case would be at least 50,000. If you have the money, you can hire a good legal team and you can hope for victory. If you have no money, you can't hire a legal team and run huge risks. And I want to make... the absurdity is that it's assumed their reputation is low when there's been nothing to suggest that they've lost even one hamburger. The argument that local authorities don't need to protect their reputation and that the free speech of the public is far more important.
Sorry, I had to stop it there, people. So we've had something like just under 2 minutes of this conversations here from Keir Starmer. He wasn't a sir then. And he's mentioned free speech twice in those 2 minutes. I think that's quite ironic, but I'm going to carry this thing forward. But just up on that, guys, he's mentioned free speech or freedom of speech twice already, people. So we'll come back to this.
Applied equally to multinationals. So there. I mean, what's tended to happen is everybody said, oh yes, yes, I'll help. And then, of course, when it comes to the day when they need it, then they're never there.
So what have you gained personally from...
How the hell am I supposed to say to that? I mean, my prediction is McDonald's will win probably about 3/4, but there will be some significant points on which Dave and Helen win. And that can be turned into a real victory for Dave and Helen on the basis that, you know, McDonald's ought to have won everything.
The only minute he's found so far is the nutrition one, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, but he's given all kinds of indications.
Is there just one photocopy of Thorgas?
Yeah, shall I run it through the machine now?
I thought that applied to companies as well.
What?
That they don't have to show...
It does. We're saying it should be different. And now that loss is indistinguishable.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
We want to get the US stuff in because we know how we do it, yeah?
Yeah, but what is the point?
Bollocks we put there. But basically, don't put that.
Keir has a system.
So I'm just going to stop it there. Just a quick aside. Does anyone remember the series? I think it ran for 2 or 3 series. This Life. It's about a group of student solicitors, and they all shared a flat share, and they all worked together. And I remember the names of a couple of them. Was it Egg and Warren? I don't remember the girls' names, unfortunately. It was one called Millie or something, I can't remember. But that was done around the same time as this. And it just reminds me a little bit of that, people. So I know there was various clips here. It was cut and pasted, etc., etc., over the period of time. So this was Keir Starmer taking on McDonald's on behalf of some Greenpeace activist people. So I'm not certain what the next bit is, but just to let you know that that's what first came into my head. I was thinking of that series, This Life, about the solicitors, young solicitors living together in a flat share, etc., etc. And it's all about the ambitions. We're looking at the ambitions, the motivations, and the drive for what took Keir Starmer from being a young solicitor, and sorry, my system's failing again, into getting to the position he is here from being the DPP then in 2011 to being the Prime Minister now in 2024. So let's hope that the system still works. If not, I'm going to have to start again because my system plays up all the time. So guys, let's carry on here with this part here, which I haven't seen.
Did them throughout voluntarily.
So here you are, I'm a barrister.
Yes, I'm a barrister. Dave and Helen did not win 1 or 2 minor battles. They won 2 of those issues outright, and they won half of 2 other issues. In 5 years' time, we will be having another press conference with you in which we will have won on all issues, and there will be no question of damages or of bankruptcy. Can you take us round the block for about 10 minutes so you can film me in the back of the cab?
Take me around the block for 10 minutes so I can be filmed in the back of the cab. Now, let me come back to that, people.
Of interesting things since David and Helen's case was in the courts over here. Lots of them involving human rights and protest, but most specifically really doing death row work in the Caribbean and trying to work towards the abolition of the death penalty there. David and Helen's case has always been very important to me from when I first met them and working with them through the difficult days of the trial. It's extremely important that it's gone all the way to the European Court of Human Rights.
So that's where I probably got the name Stammering Starmer from. It's important to me.
I'm speaking, Teddy. Yeah.
The campaign in question was a campaign to draw attention to a number of unattractive features of the fast food industry. It was a campaign instigated by a group called London Greenpeace. First we set up ourselves scientifically as proof, then put that to McDonald's. Yes. Then produce another leaflet. I also got made a Queen's Counsel, which is odd since I often used to propose the abolition of the monarchy.
So he just said he's just been made a Queen's Counsel, and it's odd because I think he was back in the abolition of the monarchy. So I think that's what he said. If that's not what he said, let me know in the comment section. So he's risen up. So I think this was done around the early 2000s. So they've a camera crew, a film crew, been following him since 1996 all the way through to 2004, I believe it is. So just see his journey from being a young solicitor, barrister, QC, etc., 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 and the way he starts to change his outlook on life, because he just said he used to oppose all these areas around the framework of the monarchy, but now he's a Queen's Counsel. Of course, he'd be a KC now because we've got a king. At the time, we had Queen Elizabeth II.
Did you win any awards? I believe you did.
I was awarded the Human Rights Law of the Year in 1990. No, in 2000. Do you want to do that again?
So I just want to do a couple of bits of commentary about that, people. So within those 5 minutes, I heard Sir Keir Starmer mention freedom of speech on a couple of occasions. And it's quite ironic now that he was talking about the McLibel too, for them to have freedom of speech, and he was prepared to do pro bono work to make certain they got the freedom of speech, because they were denied the right to have legal aid to back them in their dispute against McDonald's. And it's also weird as well how Sir Keir Starmer was standing up against the huge corporations back then. He was prepared to go head to head with the corporations back then. But you roll it forward a few years now, Keir Starmer is now standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder with these big corporations, these conglomerates. They're even bigger than conglomerates, people, these world powers. He's standing shoulder to shoulder against the common man. And I find that quite extraordinary, people, for someone who started out with the ambitions to stand up for the common man. For some reason, he's flipped like a coin. And now he's not taking care of the head side, he's taking care of the tail side, which is opposed to the common man. It's opposed to the common man, the idea for everyone to have freedom of speech. That is looking like he's looking to close it down, people. So that I found quite strange. And I also made another note here. So I think we need to go back into this. So where were we? Were we at the 2-minute mark? Something like that. Let's see if this works.
Don't need to protect their reputation, and that the free speech of the public is far more important, applies equally to multinationals.
So he said the free speech of the public is far more important, and it should be applied equally to multinationals. So what happened between 1996 and today, where the free speech of the public is no longer important in Sir Keir Hardie? No, Sir Keir Hardie was a great Labour leader. He was the one who created and founded Labour. This is Sir Keir Starmer. Excuse me, Keir Hardie. So what happened to Keir Starmer between then and now? What's changed? What's changed? It's really strange, people, because I'm just going to go there again. I just want to hear that point one last time.
The argument that local authorities don't need to protect their reputation, and that the free speech of the public is far more important, applies equally to multinationals.
That is so important, what he just said then. So I would like someone to go up into Parliament and to ask him the question, why has he changed his opinion and his approach about the legitimacy and the argument for the importance of free speech for the individual against that of the multinational, against the conglomerate, against the corporate? What has changed? What in his views and his ideologies has changed, people? I hope I'm going about this the right way. Let me know in the comment section, because I've just seen this and it's really just blown my mind. So this is a young guy here, and it's also looking at his ambitions as well. So allowing a TV company to follow him around for year after year after year, going through his rise in the ranks. So is Keir Hardie someone who's actually talking from the heart? Or is Sir Keir Hardie someone who's more of a climber, an opportunist, who's going to grab onto anything which will make him climb the next rung of that ladder? He's now at the top of the ladder. He's now the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And he has a lot of people he needs to answer to. But the freedom of speech is something that has driven me forever and ever and ever. I've always said it from day one on my channel, freedom of speech is the most important thing, and it's gotten me to so much trouble on this channel, but I will still advocate the freedom of speech for every single individual on this earth. We all have the right to freedom of speech, because if you have freedom of speech, then everyone else has the right to challenge you, to ask and to question and to debate you. This is the whole thing about freedom of speech. It should really and truly, it should bring forth debates. Because how do you know what is right and what is wrong unless you voice your opinions, but you voice them in in a decent way. I'm stammering now, people. Really, I've got the stammer. Actually, people, I did used to stammer when I was a kid. I actually stuttered and stammered for well over 3 years as a child. That is the honest truth. So, yeah, I had a really bad. Actually, it was a terrible stammer. It was the worst stammer you'll ever hear. That's what I had. And it does come back from time to time, and unfortunately it's come back at the worst time here. But people, I've advocated free speech, and it seems here that Keir Starmer was an advocate of freedom of speech. But it would just be nice to find out what has changed, what has taken him away from the idea and the ideals of a person has the rights to speak their mind. Because what we're seeing now is that, well, we're being shut down. So not only is the freedom of speech being shut down, but is even if you're in a vicinity of something which is declared to be unlawful, you could be arrested for, or you could be arrested for retweeting someone else's comment. You could be arrested for saying certain words, the wrong thing, and literally it's going to be in the eyes and the translation really of the beholder as to what you're saying. Is what you're saying right? Is what you're saying offensive? But who is it offensive to? What is the criteria to define why it's offensive? There is so much there that needs to be answered, and it can only be answered by question and debate in the Parliament. And at the moment, Keir Starmer doesn't want question, he doesn't want debate, he wants an iron rod to bring down upon us. But it's just interesting to see that he was talking about freedom of speech, he was talking about doing pro bono work for the good of the people. And what's changed, people? What's changed? And my first opinion here, or my first feeling here watching this was, will the real Keir Starmer please stand up? In the words of Eminem, please stand up. Which is the real Keir Starmer? Is it this young idealist? I don't know how old he was, but this was in 1996. This young idealist who was basically getting his way up the ladder. Or is it the Keir Starmer we see today, who is a lot older, possibly more set in his ways, and who is looking to reform the online social media? He's looking to reform how people protest, and he's looking to reform many areas of our way of life. But it looks like, and I'm saying it looks like because I don't know for certain, that we will not get a say in how those changes to our everyday life will be. So guys, let me know in the comments section. This video I will leave a link to. I'll leave a link to the full video down here so you can watch it for yourself, people, because it's really interesting. I think you should watch it 2 or 3 times. And it just gives a bit of an eye-opener into the motivations and the ambitions of Keir Starmer when he was a much younger person. And also, let me know if I was right about this life. Was it Egg, and who was the other one? Warren was another one. I can't remember any of the other names, but I was thinking about that. And it's really weird how that TV series was going on at the same time as Keir Starmer was getting involved in being filmed, going around doing his day job. Very, very strange, people. Life imitates art, imitates art, imitates life. That's what I was thinking, people. I've got a whole load of useless quotes and sayings in my head, people, that float around and they just flash into my mind from time to time, but that's what I'm thinking, people. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section. I just thought it'd be quite interesting for you to get a bit of a taste for the younger Keir Starmer. I keep thinking Keir Hardie. I'm so sorry. Keir Hardie was the person who actually basically formed the Labour Party, and he was the one which all the ideals from the Labour was formed on. But whether Keir Hardie would look at Sir Keir Starmer today and recognise his vision, his version of Labour, I do not know, people. Let me know down here in the comment section. So guys, whatever you do, make certain you look after yourselves, you look after each other. Watch this full video. Just let me know what you think as well. And also, that was the thing. I wanted to know if there are any body language experts. There was a part of this video which was quite strange about Sir Keir Hardie and his body language. and Sir Keir Starmer, not Hardy. Just want to see if we can find
So
some
there.
bits. Yeah, so this bit here, there was lots of parts here where Sir Keir Starmer was, you know, he looks a bit like a fat cat, doesn't he? Like a fat cat businessman. He's surveying his empire, and he's at peace with himself, surveying his empire. He's a top dog. So I just wanted people to have a look at this and look at his body language as well. And if you can read anything into that body language, let me know down here in the comments section. But guys, make sure you look after yourselves, you look after each other. Guys, I've heard that there's petitions going around. So when these petitions come around, sign them and make certain we crash through those numbers, because we need to ask Parliament and in Parliament these questions. We really do. And I know people that a lot of you may be thinking you're not saying certain words, you're not saying certain bits and pieces. At some point I may start to say some of those words, but just have to be very careful about the words you say. Remember, your words can be used against you. Words are very powerful, but also you have to remember as well that Sir Keir Starmer as well was saying he's getting his internet police to trawl through the backlogs of people's internet and social media as well, and they'll be looking at certain keywords and phrases to pull people up on. So I'm just saying to people, be very careful about what you say, how you say it as well. Be very careful in your words and in your deeds, people, because, and again my system's going to crash, because people will use it against you. So guys, let's make certain we go through the legal framework, people, and we do everything legal and above board. We follow the protocols, because what you don't want is for the other side and other people to say, oh, you've made mistakes, you haven't gone through the right framework, the right protocols, because we want to get our questions heard and debated in the right spaces. So guys, look after yourselves, look after each other, but make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction, guys.